What's going on, YouTube? RDAP Dan here, Federal Prison Time Consulting. Just bear with me for a second while we get everything up and running. Okay, I think we're good.
The most common reaction.
Since we paused that, will be great. All right, guys, what's going on? Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope you guys are all enjoying your lockdown or whatever it is you got going on, wherever you're from. We'll give everybody a few minutes to join us here, pop in the room, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on, the chaos, and maybe we can answer some questions, maybe not, but we'll give you guys a few minutes, pop in here. If you haven't done so, take a moment, go ahead and make sure you subscribe to our channel, like the channel, leave a comment, give it a nice thumbs up. Also, feel free to jump in the description of this video, which I'll grab the link here in a second. We also have a link for Tom Root for any of you that would be interested in booking a consultation with myself and Tom Root to find out what you might be able to do to help your loved one get either to home confinement sooner or possible halfway house sooner. So I'll grab that for you as soon as I find it. There we go. Okay. It has been a long day already. Kristen 6388, after almost 2 years, you're back to the channel. Welcome. Does that mean you just got released? If that's the case, welcome back. Our channel's growing slowly but surely. We are growing. Working from home today, as you guys can see. I just got it set up in my kitchen / living room. Hey, Tamara, how are you doing? So guys, we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about what's going on. We really want to do some focus on what the families are dealing with, because that's probably one of the, let's make sure we got the right microphone going on here. Families is really what's probably having the most stress, because you went from being able to talk to your loved ones almost on a regular basis, going to visit your loved ones on the weekends, to maybe getting to talk to them once or twice a week for 5 to 10 minutes. They're only being let out of their units for whether it be for outside activities, which I don't think they're doing any of. Their rec time is probably limited right now to showers, phone calls, and sending emails, which makes it a whole lot more stressful on the families and the friends, the ones that are back home taking care of the front on the other side, because it's really broken what you're used to, and the fear of what happens if my loved one gets sick in prison. Maybe some of you have, elderly loved ones that are sitting in the prison system right now, and you're terrified if they were to catch this COVID-19, how it could affect them, if they have respiratory problems. So there's a lot of stress and anxiety going on that it's not something that, that most of us had to consider when we were thinking about going into the prison system. I can tell you, going into prison is stressful as it is. When I went to prison, extremely stressful. The getting ready to go, wondering what it was going to be like. Any of you that have been watching my channel for a while know that once I released home, one of the biggest things I talked about is it was not nearly as bad as I had imagined it being. A lot of that has to do that I went to a low security prison. I didn't go to a high security, so I didn't really have to worry about a lot of the prison politics. But I can't imagine being there right now, where you're on lockdown and you're fearing, as this epidemic grows throughout the prison system. We just heard over at Lompoc, California, that it's like riddled the entire prison. It's in every single BOP facility. I believe it's in there now. And I don't think the numbers are really being reported very accurately. I don't know necessarily that they're trying to downplay the numbers, but I don't think they have the ability to truly test everybody. Imagine everybody that's coughing right now is suspect. Even out in the free world, you're walking, on the other side of the street, and you hear somebody cough, and you're like ducking for cover, or jumping under a car. In prison, you are in tight quarters. I don't care if you're in cells, if you're in open dorms, if you're in cubicle type settings, you are in a confined space with individuals that are just coughing and spreading this potential disease throughout the prison pretty rampantly. Prison population, we all talk about getting the prison flu. That's something that's been going on for years. Everybody that goes into the prison system gets sick. They get a horrible cold that usually will last a couple of weeks. So it's already bad enough that you know you're going to get sick. Now you're getting ready to go into the prison system, and COVID-19 is everywhere. This is completely freaking people out beyond anything they've ever dealt with before. The amount of anxiety that this is causing people and the stress and the emotions that this is having is not something that any of us have been prepared to deal with. You know, we're hearing all of this information right now out in the media and the news that this thing is kind of leveled out. We're moving in the other direction now. Things are getting better. They've started opening beaches in Florida again, over in Tampa. People are at the beach today. They're going to be opening restaurants very soon. Within the next couple of weeks, we're going to see restaurants reopening. Yes, they're going to downplay it, and they're only going to let 10, 15 people in the restaurant at a time, and they're still going to make you have your space between people. But they're slowly getting everything back to normal. And it sounds great. It looks like, oh, before you know it, we're going to be right back where we were. Well, it sounds great for everybody else, but anybody dealing with a loved one in the prison system knows that that's not the case of what they're dealing with right now. The fear that you guys are dealing with and the sleepless nights that you have, that you're dealing with now, already added on to the fact that your loved ones are away from you. You're trying to do anything and everything that you can to bring a loved one home. I think it's a shame because we have to be really careful right now. And there's a lot of wolves out there that are hiding in sheep's clothing, that are telling you what you want to hear. They're going to make these false promises to you. And maybe there are some individuals that can actually help you get your loved ones home. The fact is we know the BOP is supposed to be doing something. They've been ordered by the Attorney General. They've been handed down, stipulations that basically nonviolent offenders and the criteria and the criteria is changing almost on a day-to-day basis. Originally, it was anybody that, nonviolent, no shots. They're looking for people that fit that criteria, that they could go to home confinement and not cause any problems. They want them to have a certain percentage of their sentence finished in some cases. In other cases, we're seeing people get sentenced to straight home confinement. So we know that there is no exact science or the recipe to what they're trying to do. We just received, one of our clients just got a great word that we've been working with for a while. He just sent us an email. He's just completed 25% of, was it a 24-month sentence? The email we got that he's going into Shelly, the one that's going into quarantine. Was it 24 months? I think he was given 24 months. 24-month sentence, and he just got notice that he's going to be going to home confinement. They just sent him over for his 14-day quarantine. They allowed him to shoot an email home. So he served 25% of his sentence, and he's going home. White collar crime, nonviolent, first-time offender. So it doesn't have to be a white collar crime, but if you have to be able to show that there's a good possibility that you're not going to recommit once you get on home confinement. So that's supposed to be what they're looking for. People that have illnesses, people that have respiratory problems, asthma. Now, in his case, he does not have asthma. He doesn't have respiratory problems. We're surprised that he got selected so fast, even though we submitted additional paperwork and we did reach out. So we're trying to do our best to put our clients on a forefront, because we know the BOP is getting inundated, and we know the court systems are getting inundated with requests to go to home confinement. And we know that not everybody's doing this the right way. There's certain things you have to have in order. And this is why I stress that if you guys are curious, again, here's the link. I just posted it in the live chat here. Put yourself on a consultation. Let me get you on a call with Tom and see what you potentially can qualify for. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic wand, and things are changing on a day-to-day basis. Now they're talking about, anybody that's had a shot in a certain period of time, they're to be not considered, or at least not considered first. They're also now looking into potentially if you have any violence in your past at all, maybe you had a crime that was several years ago. We don't now. This is something that we're just hearing about from others. We're still watching this roadway unpaved in front of everybody, because this is very uncharted territory for everybody involved. So there's no exact science to what somebody needs to do. But we do know that most of you that have loved ones that are in the prison system that are nonviolent offenders should all be at home right now. They should all be on home confinement. We're even being told that a lot of these individuals aren't being put on ankle monitors, or just being given curfews, or they're still allowed to go to work. They can go do their shopping. They can do their religious events. So there's a lot that can be done once you're on home confinement, and it's still being determined how it's going to be structured. So what happens as this thing actually starts to fizzle out in the Bureau of Prisons, once COVID-19 is no longer a threat, once the BOP at least claims to have it under control? Are they going to stop sending people to home confinement? Are things going to go back to the way they were? We don't know. So time is of the essence. This is definitely the time that you want to strike. If you feel like this is an opportunity, if you have a loved one that's in prison that's not handling this well, and they're not healthy, or they have ailments, whether it's respiratory problems or asthma, and you want to find out if it's something that they can do to be brought home to finish their sentence on home confinement. A lot of you are thinking, well, you can only do 10% of your sentence on home confinement. Well, not under these conditions. Individuals can do their entire sentence on home confinement right now, no matter how much time they were sentenced to. If you haven't been sentenced yet, this is a great opportunity to really explain to a judge, your sentencing judge, and articulate this properly through narratives, through your sentencing memos, to your allocution of when you speak to the judge, when you're interviewing with the probation officer, giving them a reason to want to consider you for home confinement, and making sure that it's raised in the right way, that you're asking for this in the right tone. You don't just want to go in there blindly and say, well, COVID-19 is in the prison system, I think I should get home confinement. You want to be able to explain why you should qualify for home confinement. You need to be able to show a stable home life. You need to be able to show that what you're going to be doing, your plan, your release plan, your game plan, all this needs to be spelled out. And this is, as advocates, these are some of the things that we help you prepare. We can contact the BOP on your behalf. We can also deal directly with creating motions that could go to a sentencing judge that you can file pro se. Having the paperwork structured the right way the first time, when we know that this window is not going to stay open forever, if you're trying to get out in front and you're trying to do what you can for your loved one, it would be crazy for you not to at least book a consultation with myself and Tom. It's a free consultation. Consultation usually runs, depending on the length of questions and where you're at with it, it can run 30 minutes to an hour. But if you have medical issues, if you have medical records, you want to start gathering all of that right now. And I apologize if it got blurry. Shitty reception, obviously. But this is I've never been more stressed as a prison consultant than I have been the last month, because we're getting so many new questions and trying to research at the speed of light to find out what actually can be done and what's the best way to structure it. Tom's been doing compassionate release motions, reaching out directly to the Bureau of Prisons. He's been doing this basically since the First Step Act kicked into gear, so over a year now. But now everybody's trying to do it, and not everybody necessarily qualifies for it. So we have to find a way to put you in the best possible situation to receive the best possible outcome without creating anything that's not true. We're not going to help you lie. We're not going to falsify your documents. We're not going to put you into a situation where you're either going to cause your loved one or yourself additional problems. We already see a lot of you that are going into prison are going in for fraud types of reasons, forging documents, lying to different agency bodies. The last thing you want to do is start lying to the BOP or lying to the courts or getting a doctor to create falsified documents to get your loved one home earlier, because not only will they end up probably staying longer, but you could find yourself in the hot water as well. So don't go out there committing any new crimes to try to get your loved one out. I know you want them out. I know you're concerned. I know it's not safe for them to be in there, but don't put yourself into that type of a situation, guys, because I'm telling you, that could potentially end really bad for everybody involved. We're still doing the consulting. The consulting is starting to pick up on the front side again. A lot of these courts, don't think your court's going to get pushed off forever, or they're not going to sentence you because they're trying to keep everybody out of the courtroom. A lot of these courts are now going to video, just like we're on Zoom right now. And I don't know why the reception is as crummy as it is, but I thought we would do this on Zoom because everybody seems to be doing their social limiting, they're keeping their space, their social distancing through Zoom. We use Zoom here at the office for a lot of the different consultants and Tom and individuals that we work with. We're using Zoom for everything right now, trying to minimize the amount of face-to-face interaction that we have. But hey, let me read a message here. Nick Schulfman. Hey, Dan, my sentencing got postponed to July 14th because of the coronavirus. Yeah, and good and bad, right? So yes, peace of mind because you're not getting sentenced till July. That's something your judge had decided to do or your district court decided to do, but we're seeing a lot of other individuals where they're not getting those postponements. The downside to a postponement is by July, this could all be said and done and could be over with and back to normal sentencing where home confinement doesn't become a possibility. So for those of you out right now that are going, hey, I'm going to go ask my attorney to get this postponed, you could probably get it postponed, no problem. But if you think you have any type of shot at all for home confinement or a probated type of a sentence, now is the time to use the opportunity in place and use this to your benefit because clearly they're trying to send people home. We're seeing people go home almost on a daily basis. We've seen quite a few of our clients being sent home. We've got several motions that are in the court system right now. We've also got several clients where we've submitted directly to the BOP. Some of them have already responded back asking for some additional information. They're still figuring out what it is that they need from individuals. So it's not like there's this perfect checklist that's been submitted. So the fact that we're seeing this potential movement going in the right direction, and we're able to see that the influence that we can create by just knowing exactly how to structure this properly, we're able to see that this can make a difference in the likelihood of you or your loved one returning home a little bit sooner on a home confinement type of a situation. Home confinement is no walk in the park. It's better than prison. All day long, anybody would much rather be on home confinement than sitting in prison, but you probably have more freedom in prison than you do in home confinement. In a lot of, well, maybe not right now because of the lockdown situation, but normally, you know, you've got all this open movement of what you're able to do in prison. And right now, the psychological effects this is having on guys sitting in prison that don't have the ability to go burn off the stress or burn off the anxiety. They're waking up in the mornings. The programming is super limited. Phone calls and emails are super limited. So you better hope you got a lot of books, start sending them books, because this is going to be a whole nother test to the mindset of not breaking. Many of you are in RDAP, the Residential Drug Abuse Program. And we get calls all the time where we've seen a couple of other prisons that have reduced the hours from 500 to 300 and change. You need 500 hours to complete RDAP. Well, we've seen in a couple of places they've reduced the amount of time needed to only 300 and something because RDAP is postponed right now and individuals were supposed to graduate. So a lot of individuals are potentially not going to graduate RDAP because of this. So if you don't graduate RDAP, whatever time they were giving you off of the program, they're going to take that time back now. You no longer get the guaranteed amount of time of halfway house. There's a lot of ripple effects that what's happening right now is going to kind of ripple through that maybe some of you aren't completely thinking about. Maybe some of you have halfway house dates that are in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Well, we're hearing word and we're getting buzz feedback from other clients that are in halfway houses right now, being told that halfway houses are no longer going to be taking individuals, that some of them are closing down. A lot of the staff members have come down with coronavirus. We've heard of staff members that have already died from COVID-19 in some of these halfway houses. So what happens if the halfway house is not an option? What happens if they close down the halfway house and it's not there? Does that mean they're going to send you directly to home confinement? Or does that mean they're just going to keep you in the BOP until you finish serving your 85%? You know, we don't know. So unless you want to just kind of wait and sit in the rafters and wait and see if it all works out, and I get that some of you might have some real positive thinking, and we preach positive thinking, you know, make the best out of any situation, but that doesn't mean just sit around and wait for things to happen. That means do what you can to create as much positive influence by making proper choices and making educated decisions now. Being able to kind of foresee the worst case scenarios of what could happen through this is where you should really be focusing on what if there's no halfway house? Are they automatically going to send me to home confinement, or do I need to apply for that to get more than the 10%? You know, you've got the CARES Act, you've got the First Step Act, you've got Second Chance. There's a lot that you guys could be focusing on right now that maybe you're not. Everybody thinks that they're just going to be kicked out of prison and they're going to go home. A lot of people will, but there's going to be a lot of people that do not. So don't wait just to find out if you're going home by chance. Create the influence, put in the work, put in the effort. Again, here's a link, which is also in the description of the video. I'm posting it in the live chat. Go ahead and use that link, set yourself up on a consultation. Let's see what your options are. We're taking consultations. I think it's 3 days a week, just because we're trying to, they come in so fast and so hard that we want to give everybody the opportunity to find out what they can do, but we also have to have the time to do the work. So we're trying to limit the consultations to a few days a week. So the other days that we're able to really dedicate what needs to go into the writings and creating these narratives, getting documentation from you. If you're getting ready to go to prison, make sure somebody has a power of attorney. We may need to get medical records, and a lot of these medical facilities, if you don't have power of attorney, we're getting some blowback from one of them right now that's saying, well, until the client signs something, and you can't even get something to the client right now because they're in prison, they're in quarantine. Getting them mail is almost a nightmare, and getting it back in a timely manner is almost a nightmare. So take those precautions right now. Make sure somebody has a power of attorney for you. Make sure you're keeping documents. If you have medical records, get them all presented. Give them to your point of contact, your loved one, your wife, your husband, whoever's going to be the person on the outside handling these types of situations for you, because your movement is going to be very limited once you enter into the BOP. This is not the time to be going to prison. I can tell you that. I don't mean not to scare the out of you, but the reality is prison is the experience that you're going to make out of it. This is doing a whole different kind of time because you have nothing to do. I was working out, getting into shape, taking classes. I was only in my unit during count time, late night, and when I was sleeping. The rest of the time I was out. I was walking the half-mile track. I was listening to my music. I was engaging with my friends. We were, playing sports, going to different classes, taking schooling together, going to work. All of that has been dead right now. And it's like sitting. Imagine if you were just to sit. Many of you have very nice houses. Imagine if you were just to be sitting in your living room all day long with nothing really to do. You might go a little stir crazy. So many people right now are already going stir crazy. They don't know what it's like to be locked up. They don't like being told to not go anywhere. I've been enjoying the lockdown, minus the chaos that comes with it, with not being able to grocery shopping, but seeing how people start looking inward and they start doing things differently. We're seeing more people out on their bikes, more people walking, more people exercising, more people being self-conscious, more people. We saw a husband, a wife, and 2 or 3 little kids today walking their childs over to a just open field where they were going to play, like just hit the ball around with a little wiffle ball bat. We don't see a lot of that in the regular world. So we're starting to see people do things that they aren't used to doing because they're forced to find other things to do. So there is things to be grateful for, to find gratitude in this, but your loved ones in prison right now is kind of holding you back from being able to enjoy the simple life that we're all kind of dealing with right now. We're all in the chaos together. So it's easy to find a community of people that are dealing with that, but inmates are dealing with it in a whole nother level. They can't go out and do those things. They're not experiencing the simple life. They're experiencing being locked in a cell, a cube, or a confined area in their dorm to where they feel like a rat in a cage, just kind of bouncing off of the walls. No phone calls, don't know what's going on the outside, and just know that potentially they're at high risk for catching COVID-19 because they are in an environment that does not have ventilation, does not have proper cleaning solutions. The mental anguish that must create. People that are already panicky, that already suffer from PTSD. I mean, this is creating so much stress in so many different areas. I'm grateful to not be there, but I'm also grateful to be in a situation where I know what individuals are going through, and it gives me that much more strength to want to do what we can do to create a better environment for all of you and your loved ones, guys. Well, that's all I really got. Hope you guys found some value in this video and the other videos. I'm exhausted. Shelly and I went for a very long walk today. I went out and exercised, knocked out 200 push-ups, really trying to stay motivated, keep my mind right. But most importantly, I want to be able to stay engaged with all of you and let you know what it is you can be doing. And as hard as it is right now, try not to focus on the worst case scenario. I know it's there. I know the elephant's in the room. I know you can't help it. You're going to think about it, but try not to focus on thinking, oh my God, my loved one is going to get sick and die. That is the possibility. You have to work at it. You got to see what we can do to get them out of there, but try to focus on, are they young? Are they healthy? We see people beating this thing every single day. Granted, you want to use that to get your family and your friends out of there. I get it, but Don't jump to the worst case scenario that my loved one is potentially going to die from this. Use that as your fuel to get motivated. But if you're just sitting there right now, sulking or complaining, and you're not doing anything proactive to fix the situation, then you're just a part of the problem. You're not really doing anything to help out with the solution on this. Diane, Unicor sending inmates from FPC Pensacola to work every day at local hospitals and back to the camp, exposing the campers in the dorms. Unacceptable. You know, in Pensacola right now, so the last 3 clients we've had that were designated to go to Pensacola all got redesignated at the last minute. So I don't know what's going on there. As you guys know, Taft Federal Prison, which is a private federal prison in California, Taft is no longer taking inmates. They're closing their doors. I think they've already transferred 2 of my clients out of Taft somewhere else, because I haven't heard from either one of them in a couple of days. So you're right, Diane, it is unacceptable, but just because it's unacceptable doesn't stop it from happening. As you can see, we don't agree with it, but yet they're still doing it. So what do we do? What's the voice? It's contacting your senators, contacting your media, using videos like this as a platform or I'm sorry, not videos, channels like YouTube and platforms like YouTube to get your opinion out there. Maybe your voice can be the one that somebody hears somewhere down the road, but it doesn't just happen from one person complaining about it. Just saying that it's unacceptable isn't enough. We have to be able to do something about it. And what is the answer? We got to hope that this thing fizzles out here real soon, but not before you have a chance of getting your loved one home. Alicia Skeen, is the consultation a phone call? Yes, it is. You just click on that link. Here's the link right here. Alicia, it's a phone call over the phone. It would be myself and Tom Root on the call. Mostly Tom does I take all the notes. I run the software, the back end, creating all the documents, getting what was needed from you. I'm like the point of contact to keep Tom, so he's not getting bogged down with chasing down paperwork. I'm kind of Tom's, I don't know if I can say it, like kind of Tom's B, kind of do what he tells me to do. Tom is the man. He's got the knowledge. He's able to facilitate. Tom was an attorney. He went through the prison system like many of you are getting ready to, and just like I did. He went through the prison system, not for anything. It was a tax crime, which ended up in the end. He'll tell you the story if you ask him. But Tom is a wealth of knowledge. He also has a newsletter, which I should have in the description here. I don't know why. If you do text me, 509-434-4695. Like all my contact information is in the description of this video. If you want to get Tom's newsletter, he's got a newsletter that mostly goes out to the inmates. It's called Legal Lisa. If you want to get your inmate or your loved one on Tom's newsletter list, which he sends out every single week to inmates throughout the Bureau of Prisons, shoot me a text or send me an email. And Tom's executive assistant. See, Tamara, you always find a good way with words. I don't mind being Tom's that either, though. You know what? Because we all have a role to play. More of my focus and knowledge is the pre-phase of what you can do before you go to prison to potentially get a lower sentence, or maybe not go to prison, or making sure that you can qualify for RDAP if it's within the realm, or helping you with some additional halfway house. Tom, when it comes to writing motions, when it comes to writing directives to the BOP, to put yourself in a situation where you're kind of being seen. You don't want to appear and look like every other inmate that's writing something into the wardens, trying to get them to send them on home confinement. Tom knows what he's doing, guys. And after you have a 5-minute call, we've had 2 calls in the last 3 days where some of our clients, their attorneys, were slightly doubting. They're like, well, who is this guy? Why are you paying him? Da, 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 da. And of course, it creates doubt in the client's mind. So my recommendation every time is like, look, you've got an attorney telling you one thing. You've got me, who's an ex-felon, went to prison. I get where your attorney's coming from. But before you make any kind of educated decision, tell your attorney you just want to get everybody in a call. Have your attorney talk with Tom. Both of these times that it happened just recently, both calls ended with the attorney being blown away by the knowledge that Tom had, to the point where Tom is much more educated dealing with this part of it than almost any attorney you're going to deal with. Most federal defense attorneys, or even some attorneys that specialize in motion writing or 2255s, this isn't something that they've really come across too often. So they're really just kind of tripping their way through it. And the fact that we got such good feedback from the attorneys after speaking to Tom, again, is that much more of a compliment to, yes, we are absolutely doing the right thing for the right reasons. So yes, I'm Tom's executive assistant when it comes to this section of the business. But yeah, guys, use the link, book yourself a consultation. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't tell yourself, oh, I can't afford it, or it's not going to work, or inmates are telling my loved one that he shouldn't do anything because they're just going to send everybody home. Don't assume anything. Don't pretend you know all the answers. Just put your mind out there, hear what people have to say, chew up the meat, spit out the bones, find something to hang your coat on. Shelly loves it when I make these little, just come up and say random stuff. But yeah, you got to find something to put your faith into, but it's got to be educated faith. You don't just want to have this blind faith. You don't just want to trust somebody because they sound good, or they got a bunch of letters at the end of their name. They have to be able to explain to you what it is they're going to do, break down the science of how it can work. And if it makes sense to you and you can understand it, then yeah, go for it. You're making an educated decision then. You're not making a blind decision, guys. That's what this is all about. I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting, people helping people, communities method, one day at a time. Hope you guys try to do your best. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We are getting ready to go shopping. Not for nothing fun. We got to go buy groceries. We want to buy groceries, right? We want to buy groceries. But you know what? I'm so damn bored. We went last night and bought some board games. We bought, oh, you guys want to see these games? This is pretty trippy. So we bought two games last night. I'm going to share with you guys. Okay, we bought two games. One, of course, everybody knows a little bit of Yahtzee, right? Everybody knows how to play Yahtzee, even though we don't. We read the rules last night, but we were tired. But look at this game. Tell me this is not, for what we got going on right now. It's a game called Virus. I don't know if this game was just created or when it was created, but basically you got to find a way to kill the virus. So I thought it was pretty interesting. So yeah, we grabbed some games. Now we're going to go back to Walmart, and because it's the only place that's open, and we're going to go, it's like an outing. It's like the family outing day to Walmart. We bought bikes. We got bike racks. We bought kayaks. We're looking at like scooters, just stuff to stay entertained with the downtime. But you guys do what you got to do. Stay safe. I'll check in with you guys in a few days. I'll probably have Tom back on next week to give some more additional updates. But I hope you guys stay safe. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm RDAP Dan, and I am officially out of here as soon as I can find where the stop button is. Here we go. I can't find it. Found it.